How was it? Malaysia, Miss Malaysia.
It felt so sad listening to all the story just now.
Yes.
I felt so sad.
I had some question.
Yep.
Okay. Do you think between tsunami and COVID-19 pandemic, which one is more difficult to handle?
Oh, I think both is the worst to the world.
Yeah.
I think people should not go through that. And even we went through and we are going through. Let's get through this.
All right.
We end this together.
Right. So
Thank
it's
you.
a disaster.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a disaster.
Yeah.
I think we shouldn't go through that. But right now, as we are going through that, we should be as one and get through this.
Of course.
We can do this.
Very well said.
Thank
you.
you.
Miss Gan, Philippines.
Hi.
Hi. I have some questions for you.
Yes.
Do you think between COVID-19 pandemic and tsunami, which one is more difficult to handle and why?
Wow. If I had to choose, I would say that the COVID-19 would be a little harder and more difficult to handle because with a tsunami, it's a one-time instance. And it's easier to build new developments later on, new infrastructures, as long as everyone helps out. However, with the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, it's different for every country, and there are other governments handling it. And so, of course, given that nature, it's hard to also coordinate with the rest of the world because everyone can be affected, whereas a tsunami, only a certain area can be affected. But of course, I don't wish that at all for anyone at any given point in our lives.
Oh, very well said. Excellent.
Yes,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Miss Gan for Africa. Okay, I have a question for you. Do you think between COVID-19 pandemic and tsunami, which one is more difficult to handle and why?
Honestly, I think both are very, very difficult situations. But I think the COVID-19 pandemic had a really big impact on people, not only physically, but mentally, on the world's economies. The COVID-19 pandemic really had an impact on the whole world, not only on one place, but I still have sympathy and empathy for the places that were touched by the tsunami. I think it's terrible and I don't wish that upon anyone. So yes, that's my answer.
Excellent. Very well said. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Sophia, Miss Grand Indonesia.
Hi.
Okay, I have some question for you. Do you think between COVID-19 pandemic and tsunami, which one is more difficult to handle and why?
I think they're both just as equally as hard to handle because the pandemic and the tsunami were unprecedented and we didn't really expect them coming as humanity. But I think to some degree a tsunami is probably more difficult to handle because it's a natural disaster. I think a pandemic, the pandemic was derived from a food market. It comes from meat, it comes from food that is cooked unhygienically or left out unhygienically. So I think that should encourage us to be more mindful of how we take care of our food, what food we put into our body, because we can prevent pandemics, but we can't prevent tsunamis.
All right, very well said.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, enjoy the day.
Bye.
Puerto Rico.
Hi.
How was the day?
It's been amazing. We started the day, we traveled for about 1 hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. We learned about the big tsunami that struck Thailand. It was very emotional and informative, but now we were able to take our shoes off, walk in this beautiful beach, so it's been a good day.
All right, great. Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, do you think between tsunami and COVID-19 pandemic, which one is more difficult to handle and why?
Wow, that's a really interesting question. I think it would be very hard to choose because they both put in jeopardy lives of millions of innocent people. Both the tsunami and COVID have been attacking people, innocent people. The tsunami is unpredictable. You don't know when it's going to happen, and COVID came unpredictable as well. I think the most important part, instead of asking ourselves which one is more dangerous or more difficult, the most important part is to educate about what we can do to help with. So in our presentation we saw in the tsunami, we learned the science about when a tsunami is coming. So it's really important to know that when you see the tide going back up, that means more than usual. That means it's a little bit dangerous and you should be alert. Every time there's an earthquake, you should be alert that there could be a risk of tsunami. And in COVID, I think it's really important to just keep social distancing, use our mask. I have mine, whoop, I have mine right here. I took it off for your video.
All right.
And to promote getting vaccinated so that we can keep each other safe. I think that's the most important part in both topics.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much.
welcome.
Okay, Miss Grand Hong Kong.
Hi.
I have a question for you. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think between tsunami and COVID-19 pandemic, which one is more difficult to handle and why?
Is this final question?
Or something like that?
Yeah, I think COVID, because our technology for handle natural things is already developed so much, so we can predict and prevent in advance little bit, not that much at all though. COVID pandemic is getting changed. Even though we have vaccination, actually for some of them, vaccination doesn't working a lot as well. So just right now at the moment, I think COVID is more
Difficult.
difficult to handle. I think.
All right. Okay. Very well said. Okay. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Enjoy the day. Brazil.
Hello.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think between COVID-19 pandemic and tsunami, which one is more difficult to handle and why?
Okay, this is a trick question, and I have to say this answer is personal because I lost my grandmother in COVID-19,
Oh my God.
and it's not easy, and I can imagine how people feel when they lost people they love. So I have to say this is not easy to answer, but to me it's COVID.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much and sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. Spain. How are you?
Actually pretty hot, it's
Yeah.
too warm here.
Yeah.
And we're near the beach, I can understand it as well. It's a hot day.
All right. Okay. So I have question for you.
Tell me.
Do you think, excuse me, do you think between COVID-19 pandemic and tsunami, which one is more difficult to handle and why?
The COVID-19 pandemic or a tsunami?
Yes.
Well, actually both situations are pretty tough and pretty different. One's a natural disaster and the other one's a virus, so I think the way we handle them is going to be very, very different. But in case of looking how much deaths we have between one another and taking into consideration that COVID pandemic has been over more than a year and a half and the tsunami was in just one day, I think the hardest situation to handle is the tsunami because it happens on the moment and all the disaster happens at the same time. Actually, COVID-19 is more progressive, it's going to be continued in time. So you can look for new solutions and the tsunami is the moment.
Great answer. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Have a good one.
Hello.
Yeah, I have question for you.
Okay.
Do you think between tsunami and COVID-19 pandemic, which one is more difficult to handle and why?
Well, I know both of them are so difficult for us to handle, but we need to be stronger and be together because the union makes us more stronger. And even if there's another more experience like this, I'm sure that if we are together, we're gonna handle we can go to any risk. So we need to keep it together to have a good experience and to keep enjoy every day and have fun every day because next day we don't know where we're going to go.
All right, very well said. Thank you very much. Okay, have a good one. Hi, Miss Grand Nicola. I have question for you.
Okay.
Do you think between COVID-19 pandemic and tsunami, which one is more difficult to handle and
Both.
why?
Both, because both of that things hurts a lot Thai people. So I think that the worst that could happen is that Thai people doesn't get united. That will be the worst. But both things are bad in all the ways. The best we can do is get united as a country, as a Thai people do it, so we can go ahead.
All right, very well said.
Thank
you
you.
very much, Miss
Thank you so
Grand
much.
Nicaragua. Have a good one. Thank you,
Hi
bar.
everyone.
Yeah.
Hi. Nice to see you again.
Yes, of course. I have a question for you. Do you think between COVID-19 pandemic and tsunami, which one is more difficult to handle and why?
Wow. Well, both of them, we wasn't ready for that. And the tsunami is a natural disaster. We don't even expect that. But even if that happen and can happen again and again and again, we don't. It's not on our. It's out of control, and we can even control that. So I think COVID-19 we can handle. We created vaccines, and we right now we have we handle the situation to keep people at home, take the vaccines. But tsunamis we can handle. So I think that the tsunami is the biggest disaster here in Thailand, especially here in Thailand. So yeah, that's my answer.
Great answer. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, have a
ขอบคุณ
good one.
ค่ะ
ขอบคุณครับ